Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd love to know what you think. Every comment helps me make the next story better. Subscribe to stay tuned. I walked into our townhouse in Capitol Hill at 7:30 on a Thursday evening and knew something was coming. You develop a sense for these things after 7 years of marriage. The way the air feels different. The way your partner positions themselves. The subtle staging of an important moment. My wife was sitting on the couch with a glass of wine, wearing what I'd come to think of as her important conversation outfit. The black wrap dress that made her feel powerful. Hair and makeup done, even though we weren't going anywhere. Takeout Thai food sat untouched on the coffee table between us. She'd been checking her phone every 30 seconds, smiling at the screen in a way that made my stomach tighten. "We need to talk," she said. I set down my messenger bag slowly, buying myself a second to prepare for whatever was coming. "Okay." She took a sip of wine, set the glass down with deliberate care, and launched into what was clearly a prepared speech. One she'd probably rehearsed in the mirror. "I've been thinking a lot about our relationship structure, about how we define commitment and partnership in the modern world, about what it means to truly love someone in an authentic way." I sat down across from her and waited. She always did this, built up to the actual point with theory and philosophy, like she was defending a thesis instead of having a conversation. Monogamy is sort of an outdated concept, don't you think? I mean, when you really examine it. Studies show that consensual non-monogamy can actually strengthen partnerships. It removes the possessiveness and jealousy that poisons so many relationships. We're evolved adults. We're secure enough to handle this maturely. I picked up a container of pad thai, more to give my hands something to do than because I was hungry. Handle what exactly? An open marriage. She said it like she was suggesting we get a dog or repaint the living room. Casual. Reasonable. Already decided. I think we're both mature enough for this. We're just finally ready to admit it to ourselves and each other. I took a bite of the noodles, chewed slowly, swallowed. Her phone lit up on the cushion beside her. She glanced at it and smiled before catching herself and turning it face down. But not before I saw that smile. Bright. Excited. Anticipatory. "You want an open marriage," I said. "Not a question. I think we both do, deep down. We deserve to feel fulfilled. To explore who we are beyond the constraints we've placed on ourselves." She leaned forward, warming to her topic now. "Think about it. No jealousy, no possessiveness, no resentment. Just two secure people who trust each other enough to be completely honest about their needs and desires." I looked at her, really looked at her. She'd been distant for 3 months, maybe longer. She'd mentioned someone new on her marketing team at least a dozen times in the past 6 weeks. Always casually, always in passing, but his name kept coming up. She'd started going to the gym more, bought new clothes, started coming home late on Wednesdays, always with some work excuse. The pieces were all there. I'd just been too comfortable to assemble them. "Okay," I said. "If that's what you want, I'm in." Her eyes widened. Just for a second. That wasn't the response she'd expected. She'd prepared for an argument, for hurt feelings, for negotiation. Not immediate agreement. Then she smiled, clearly pleased this was going so smoothly. "Really? You're okay with this? I thought you might need time to think about it. You said we're evolved adults. Let's prove it." I set down the container and met her eyes. "We start now, right? Like, immediately? Or is there a waiting period?" She hesitated. I could see her calculating, trying to figure out if this was a trap. "No. No waiting period. Yes. Starting now. Tonight. We're officially in an open marriage as of this moment." "Good to know." I stood up. "I'm going to make some calls then." Her confident expression flickered. "Calls? What calls?" "Well, if we're starting now, I should probably reach out to some people. See who's available." She looked confused but tried to hide it. "Oh, sure. Of course. Take your time. Process this however you need to." I went upstairs to the home office and closed the door, leaned against it for a moment, breathing. 7 years. 7 years of making myself smaller, of managing her moods, of walking on eggshells. And now this. I pulled out my phone and opened my contacts. Scrolled through, thinking. There was a woman I'd known since college who'd moved to Seattle 2 years ago. We'd reconnected at a mutual friend's birthday party and discovered we lived in the same neighborhood. We'd been in a book club together for the past 6 months. Smart, funny, easy to talk to. She had a PhD in literature and could talk about books for hours without it ever feeling pretentious or boring. About 3 months ago, she'd asked me about my marriage status. Just casual curiosity over coffee after book club. When I'd said I was married, she'd just nodded and changed the subject. But there was something in her expression. A flash of disappointment, maybe, or recognition. Downstairs, I could hear my wife texting someone, laughing softly. That bright, excited laugh she used to have with me years ago. I sat there in the quiet office and thought about what had just happened, about what she'd really been asking for. She didn't want an open marriage. She wanted permission. Permission to pursue whoever she'd been texting. Permission to explore without guilt. She wanted me to stay here, waiting, being the safe backup plan while she figured out if the grass was greener. But she'd phrased it as an open marriage. And an open marriage goes both ways. The next morning, I was in the kitchen making coffee when she came downstairs. It was barely 7, but she was already fully dressed. Hair done, makeup perfect, wearing one of her new outfits. The kind that said she was meeting someone important. "I have dinner plans tonight," she announced, standing in the doorway, waiting for me to react, to object, to show that this bothered me. I poured 2 cups of coffee slowly. "That's nice. Where are you going?" She blinked, thrown off by my tone. "Just that new Italian place downtown. The one that just opened." "Sounds good. I've heard the pasta there is incredible." I handed her a cup. "By the way, I texted someone last night after our talk. We're going out tomorrow evening." The coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. For a long moment, she just stared at me. "What?" I reached out to Allison. "You know, from book club." She said yes. "We're getting dinner Saturday night." "You already have a date?" Her voice went up half an octave, tight and strained. "You said we're starting now. Thursday night. I took you at your word. You're going out tonight. I'm going out tomorrow. That's how an open marriage works, right? We're both free to see other people." She set down the cup with a sharp click. "Who is Allison? I don't remember anyone named Allison from your book club." "Yes, you do. We met her at that indie bookstore event on Capitol Hill. About 3 months ago. She's the one with the PhD in literature. Dark hair, wearing that green dress. You two talked about that mystery series you both read." Her face had gone tight. "The one with the PhD? That woman? That's her. I didn't think you'd move this fast." She was pacing now, the way she did when she was trying to think through something. "This was supposed to be a gradual thing. We talk about it. We set boundaries. We figure out how to communicate." I leaned against the counter and took a slow sip of coffee. "You didn't mention any of that last night. You said open marriage, starting now. Those were your exact words. I assumed you meant what you said. But you can't just immediately start dating someone. There's a process." "What process?" "You have dinner plans tonight. With someone. You were excited about it. I heard you texting him last night, laughing. So I figured if you're ready to start immediately, then so am I." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. I continued, keeping my voice calm and reasonable. "Unless you're saying there are different rules for you than there are for me? Is that what you're saying?" No, that's not." She stopped, collected herself. "I just thought you'd need time. To adjust. To process." "I processed last night. I'm adjusted. We're in an open marriage now. It's what you wanted, and I'm fine with it." She stared at me for another long moment, then turned and went upstairs without another word. I heard the bedroom door close. Then, a minute later, I heard her on the phone. Her voice was low and urgent, but I couldn't make out the words. I finished my coffee and rinsed the cup. My phone buzzed with a text from Allison. "I'm really looking forward to Saturday. I have so much to tell you about the new Atwood book." I smiled and texted back, "Same. See you at 7. By Friday afternoon, I was at my desk working when my phone started buzzing with messages. The first one came around 2 in the afternoon. It was from our neighbor across the hall. Whitney. She'd moved in about 8 months ago, recently divorced, always friendly in the hallway. We'd had a few conversations by the mailboxes, casual stuff about the building and the neighborhood. Her message was direct. "Heard through the grapevine you're available now. Want to get coffee sometime? No pressure." I stared at the message for a moment. The grapevine. My wife had told people. Already, less than 24 hours after her proposal, she'd spread the word that we were in an open marriage. I texted back, "Coffee sounds great. Sunday morning? Victrola Coffee on Pike Street? Around 10? Perfect. See you then." 20 minutes later, another message came through. This one genuinely surprised me. It was from Veronica, my wife's yoga instructor. I'd met her a handful of times when I'd picked my wife up from class. Hey, your wife mentioned you're seeing other people now. I hope this isn't too forward, but I always thought you were interesting. Want to grab drinks next week and actually talk? I had to read it twice. My wife had told her yoga instructor. She'd made this public enough that people felt comfortable reaching out to me. This wasn't just telling close friends. This was telling anyone who would listen. I thought about it for a minute, then replied, Wednesday work for you? There's a nice cocktail bar in Belltown. Bathtub gin. Wednesday's perfect. Looking forward to it. I set my phone down and just sat there for a minute, processing. In less than 48 hours, I had 3 dates lined up. 3 women who were interested. 3 women who, apparently, had been interested but hadn't said anything because I was married. What did that mean? Had I been walking around completely oblivious to how people saw me? Had I been so focused on managing my wife's moods and needs that I'd missed everything else? When my wife came home from work early that afternoon, around 4, I was sitting on the couch looking at my phone and smiling at something Allison had sent. A funny meme about grammar pedants. What's so funny? My wife demanded from the doorway. She'd clearly left work early. Her tone was sharp, accusatory. I looked up. Just a text from Allison. She's got a good sense of humor. You're texting her already? We're going out tomorrow. Seemed friendly to text beforehand. Get to know each other a bit. She dropped her purse on the counter with a thud and came into the living room. What else has been going on? Have you been talking to other people? Actually, yeah. Whitney from across the hall asked me to coffee. We're meeting Sunday morning. And Veronica from your yoga class reached out too. We're getting drinks Wednesday evening. The color drained from her face. She sat down heavily on the chair across from me. 3 women in 2 days? I set my phone down. Is there a limit? You didn't mention a limit when we had this conversation on Thursday. This isn't what I meant. Her voice was strained, higher than normal. What did you mean? She started that pacing thing she does when she's agitated. Back and forth in front of the window. I meant this was supposed to be mutual, but balanced. Not you immediately lining up multiple women like you're shopping. Balanced, I repeated. Okay, so how many dates have you lined up? She stopped pacing. That's not the point. It seems like exactly the point. It's mutual. We both get to date other people. That's what open marriage means. But you're not supposed to actually do it. The words burst out of her, louder than she'd intended. I let the silence sit for a moment. But you were going to do it. You had plans for tonight. You were excited about those plans. I heard you texting someone last night, laughing. You've been talking about this person from your marketing team for weeks. So you were absolutely planning to do it. She stood there, opening and closing her mouth, trying to find words that wouldn't trap her further. I'm not feeling well, she finally said. I'm going to cancel tonight. You sure? You seemed really excited about it this morning. She walked past me toward the stairs, then stopped. Turned back. This isn't how it was supposed to go. How was it supposed to go? She didn't answer. Just went upstairs. A minute later, I heard her on the phone again. Her voice muffled through the floor, but the tone clear. Angry. Desperate. Trying to explain something that didn't have a good explanation. Friday evening arrived faster than I expected. I was in the shower, getting ready, when I realized my wife was watching me through the bathroom door. Just standing there, arms crossed. Her face cycling through emotions I couldn't quite read. You're really doing this, she said. I turned off the water and reached for a towel. We talked about this. I have a date. With Allison, we're going to the Walrus and the Carpenter in Ballard. That's an expensive restaurant. It's oysters and good conversation. Seemed appropriate. She followed me into the bedroom, watching as I got dressed. I picked out a nice shirt, not my best, but nice. Made an effort without overdoing it. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. We can just forget the whole thing. Go back to normal. I paused, shirt half buttoned. Normal? You mean where you were texting someone every night and I pretended not to notice? Where you came home late with vague excuses and I just accepted it? That normal? That's not fair. You're right. It's not. I finished buttoning the shirt. But it's true. The doorbell rang at 6:25. Allison was early. Or maybe I was running late. Either way, my wife got to the door first. I came down the stairs to find my wife standing in the doorway in her pajamas. Old sweatpants and a stained t-shirt. Hair uncombed. No makeup. She looked like she'd been crying, which maybe she had. I'd heard sounds from the bedroom earlier that could have been crying or angry phone calls or both. And there was Allison standing on our doorstep in a simple black dress that was somehow both casual and elegant. Dark hair pulled back, a warm smile that faltered just slightly when she saw my wife's appearance. She was holding flowers, a small bouquet of tulips, bright and cheerful. "Hi," Allison said, holding out the flowers. "You must be his wife. I'm Allison. I brought these for you. I thought it might be nice to, keep things friendly. This is all new territory for everyone." My wife took the flowers like they might explode in her hands. Just stood there holding them, staring. "Thank you for being so mature about this," Allison continued, her voice gentle and genuine. "Not many people could handle an open arrangement with this much grace. It really shows how secure you both are in your relationship and in yourselves." My wife made a sound that wasn't quite a word, more like air escaping. "Ready?" I said, coming up behind my wife. Allison smiled at me, then looked back at my wife. "He's always spoken so highly of you when we talk at book club, about how supportive you are, how you've built this life together. It's really nice that you both trust each other enough for this kind of freedom." "We're evolved adults," I said, echoing my wife's words from Thursday. "That's what she said, that we can handle this maturely." "That's beautiful," Allison said. "Real security in a relationship. That's rare." My wife's hand shot out and grabbed my arm. Her grip was tight, almost painful. "Can I talk to you? Just for 1 second. In private." "We need to leave or we'll lose our reservation," I said gently. "It's a popular place, especially on Friday nights." She held on tighter. Her voice dropped to a desperate whisper. "Please, just 1 minute." Allison cleared her throat delicately. "Should I wait in the car? I'm parked right outside." "No, we're coming." I carefully removed my wife's hand from my arm, her fingers leaving red marks on my skin. "Have a good evening." And then my wife snapped. The facade crumbled completely. "I meant open for me, not you." She practically screamed it. The words echoed in the hallway, bouncing off the walls. Allison stopped in the doorway. The warm smile faded. She looked at my wife, then at me, then back at my wife. Slowly, her expression changed to something like understanding. Or maybe recognition. "I see," Allison said quietly. "You said open marriage." I said to my wife, my voice calm in contrast to hers. "You said starting now." "Those were your exact words on Thursday evening." "I didn't think you'd actually." She couldn't finish the sentence. Her eyes were wild, desperate. "What? Date people? Isn't that what open means? Isn't that the whole point of what you proposed?" "This isn't fair." Her voice cracked. "You're absolutely right. It's not fair. But it's what you asked for." I turned to Allison, who was still standing in the doorway, taking all of this in. "I'm sorry about this. This isn't how I wanted the evening to start." Allison's expression had shifted to something softer. Understanding, maybe. Or sympathy. "It's okay. These situations are complicated." My wife was crying now. Real tears, not the manipulative kind she sometimes used to get her way. Her whole body was shaking. "You can't just leave. Not like this. We need to talk about this." We did talk about this. On Thursday. For 2 hours. You laid out your whole philosophy. You had statistics and examples. You told me this was what you wanted, what you needed, what we both deserved. I agreed. That was the conversation. But I didn't mean it like this. She grabbed for my arm again, but I stepped back. "Then how did you mean it?" "Because from where I'm standing, you meant it exactly like this. You wanted to date someone else. You just didn't want me to do the same thing." I looked at her steadily. "You wanted me to wait here, being the safe option, while you figured out if someone else was better. That's what you meant." She couldn't deny it. The truth was right there in her expression, in the way she couldn't meet my eyes. Allison spoke up, her voice gentle but firm. "I think I should wait in the car after all. Take your time." She looked at me with something like compassion. "No rush. Really." She walked down the hallway toward the elevator, her heels clicking on the tile floor. The sound echoed in the suddenly quiet space. My wife and I stood there facing each other. 7 years of marriage, of building a life together, of compromises and sacrifices and shared dreams. And here we were, in the doorway, her in pajamas, me dressed for a date with someone else. "This is insane," she whispered. "You're throwing everything away." "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm accepting the terms you set. You opened this door on Thursday. I'm just walking through it. I'll close it. I'll close it right now. We'll go back to how things were." "No." The word came out firmer than I'd intended. You don't get to open it Thursday and close it Friday. That's not how this works. You made a decision. Now you get to live with it. We both do. I walked past her, grabbed my jacket from the hook by the door, and left. She called after me, but I didn't turn around. The elevator doors closed on the sound of her voice. Allison was sitting in her car in the parking lot, scrolling through her phone. When I opened the passenger door, she looked up with a careful expression. "You okay?" she asked. I sat down and buckled the seatbelt. "Yeah, sorry about all that." "Don't apologize." She started the engine. "I've seen this before. Someone suggests opening a relationship as a way to have their cake and eat it too. They don't actually want the relationship open. They want permission. Permission to cheat without guilt. Essentially, she pulled out of the parking lot. And they definitely don't expect their partner to take them up on the offer. We drove in silence for a few minutes. The city lights sliding past the windows. Friday evening traffic building up as people headed out for the night. "We can reschedule if you need to," Allison said. "I understand if you need space to process all of that." "No," I said. "I want to go to dinner. I want to have good conversation and eat oysters and talk about books and have a normal, drama-free evening with someone who says what they mean and means what they say." She smiled. "I can definitely provide that." And she did. We went to the Walrus and the Carpenter in Ballard. We ate oysters and talked about books in Seattle and the difference between being alone and being lonely. Allison was easy to talk to. She asked good questions and actually listened to the answers. She didn't check her phone once. "So," she said over coffee, "that was interesting. I'm sorry about that." "Don't be. I've seen that dynamic before." She stirred her coffee. "She suggested this, didn't she?" "Yesterday. And you agreed." "I did. And she didn't expect you to actually do it." Allison smiled. Classic. Classic. Power play that backfired. She wanted you to fight for her, to prove she was worth keeping. Instead, you showed her you're the valuable one." She leaned back. "How do you feel about that?" "Honestly, lighter than I've felt in months." When I got home at 11, every light in the house was on. My wife was in the living room, surrounded by tissues and an empty wine bottle. "Did you?" She couldn't finish the question. "We had dinner. We talked." "That's it." "She's interesting. We're going out again next Friday." "You can't do that." I sat down across from her. "Why not? We're in an open marriage. We need to close it. This was a mistake. You don't get to open it Thursday and close it Friday." "But this isn't what I wanted." "I know. You wanted permission to see someone while I waited at home. You wanted me to be your backup plan while you explored your options. But that's not what you said. You said open marriage. So we have one." She started crying. Real crying this time. "How could you do this to me?" "I didn't do anything. I agreed to your terms." Saturday morning arrived with surprising clarity. I woke up in the guest room, sunlight streaming through the unfamiliar window, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Clear-headed, decisive, done with the endless cycle of trying to make something work that had been broken for a long time. My wife was asleep on the couch when I came downstairs, still wearing yesterday's clothes, surrounded by tissues and empty wine bottles. Evidence of a night spent trying to process what was happening, trying to figure out how her plan had gone so spectacularly wrong. I made coffee quietly, not trying to wake her, but she stirred anyway. Sat up slowly, her hair a mess, makeup smeared, eyes red and swollen. "We need to talk," she said, her voice hoarse. "Go ahead." She pulled herself together, trying to look composed, but the exhaustion and panic showed through every crack. "What happened last night was completely out of line. You embarrassed me in front of Allison. You made me look like a fool." I had to laugh at that. Actually laugh. "I embarrassed you? That's your take on what happened?" "Yes. You asked someone out right after She stopped, realizing the trap. "Right after you what? Proposed an open marriage? Told me we were evolved enough to handle it maturely? Which part embarrassed you?" Her face flushed. "I made a mistake. A simple mistake. And you're blowing it completely out of proportion." "A simple mistake." I sat down across from her, coffee cup warming my hands. "You announced we were in an open marriage. I agreed. I asked someone out. She said yes. That's not blowing anything out of proportion. That's just following through. But you knew I didn't really mean it like that. Did I? Because you were pretty clear on Thursday. You had statistics. You talked about studies. You used words like evolved and authentic and mature. You said this was about both of us being fulfilled. How was I supposed to know you didn't mean it? She changed tactics, her voice getting softer, more vulnerable. Baby, please. Can we just forget this happened? I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Let's go back to normal. No. What do you mean no? I mean no. We're not forgetting this happened. You don't get to drop a bomb like that and then pretend it never happened when you don't like the results. Her face hardened, the vulnerability dropping away like a mask. So you're actually going through with this? You're going to keep seeing Allison? Yes. She's my friend from your book club. That's inappropriate. She was never your friend. You met her once. And if anyone made this inappropriate, it was you by telling everyone we're in an open marriage. I'm telling you right now, if you go out with her again, we're done. I pulled out my phone and started typing. What are you doing? Googling divorce lawyers in Seattle. The color drained from her face completely. She stood up so fast her blanket fell to the floor. You're looking at divorce lawyers? Over one date. You're insane. No. Over one decision. Your decision Thursday night. I'm just being prepared. I said I made a mistake. And I'm saying I don't believe you. I think you meant every word. You just didn't expect me to agree. You expected me to fight, to beg, to prove I loved you enough to keep you. But that's not what happened. I agreed. And now you're realizing what you actually asked for. She started crying again. Real tears this time, not the manipulative kind. How can you just sit there and do this? How can you throw away 7 years? I'm not throwing away 7 years. I'm acknowledging that those 7 years led us here. To this moment, where you wanted permission to cheat and I want out. That's not what I wanted. Then what did you want? Explain it to me. Make it make sense. She couldn't. She just stood there, mouth opening and closing, trying to find words that would somehow make this okay. Make this not her fault. I stood up and headed toward the stairs. I'm going to take a shower. Then I have that coffee date with Whitney from across the hall. Remember her? The one you told about our open marriage? You can't go. Yes, I can. That's the whole point. Sunday morning, I met Whitney at Victrola Coffee. She was direct and honest about her recent divorce. I noticed you seemed unhappy, she said. Always looked like you were walking on eggshells. That obvious? To someone who's lived it? Yeah. We talked about boundaries and respect and starting over. It was easy, comfortable. No games, no tests. My wife showed up 20 minutes in. What a coincidence, she said, looking at me. I was just in the neighborhood. Whitney smiled. Want to join us? My wife's face went red. She turned and left without a word. Whitney watched her go. So that was your wife. That was her. She suggested the open marriage? She did. Then she needs to handle it. Monday, my wife's sister called. Then her mother. Then her best friend. She'd told them all her version of events. I sent them screenshots. The texts with timestamps. The recording I'd made of Thursday's conversation. Her mother called back. I see. That's not what she told us. I know. What are you going to do? File for divorce. That seems extreme. Maybe, but it's what I need to do. Tuesday, I had dinner with Whitney at Serious Pie. We discovered we liked the same music and the same books. We laughed easily. There was chemistry, but no pressure. Just two people enjoying each other's company. Wednesday, I met Veronica for drinks at Bathtub Gin. She apologized for how she'd found out I was available. Your wife told the whole yoga class you were separating, she said. But she said you were the one who wanted to date other people. That's not what happened. I figured. She sipped her drink. She's been inappropriate at yoga for months, making comments about men, being flirtatious. We all noticed. Another piece clicked into place. Thursday evening, 1 week after the proposal, I came home to find my wife's family in the living room. Her mother, sister, and brother, all looking at me with varying degrees of disapproval. We need to talk about your behavior, her mother said. I set down my bag. Okay. You're having affairs, her sister said. You're destroying your marriage. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from Thursday. My wife's voice filled the room. Confident, almost gleeful, talking about evolving beyond constraints, about being mature enough to handle an open marriage, about how she deserved to explore. The room went silent. You recorded her? Her mother finally said. I record important conversations. Her brother looked at my wife. You said he brought this up. My wife was crying again. I didn't mean. You literally say in the recording people you're interested in, her brother said. Plural. Her family left without saying goodbye to me. I heard her mother tell her. You created this mess. Friday night, I took Allison to Altura. She knew about the week's chaos. She'd heard from mutual friends in the book club. You deserve someone who doesn't play games, she said. I'm starting to believe that. She reached across the table. Take your time. Figure things out. I'm not going anywhere. My phone buzzed. Another text from my wife. Where are you? Who are you with? Come home now. Allison noticed. She's texting a lot? I showed her the screen. That's not love, Allison said. That's control. Saturday morning, I woke up clear-headed. My wife was asleep on the couch, surrounded by tissues. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, thinking. Then I called a divorce lawyer. The appointment was set for Monday. My wife woke up and saw me on the computer, looking at apartments. You're moving out? We're getting divorced. Because of 1 week. Because of 7 years. This week just made it impossible to ignore. I said I was sorry. And I believe you're sorry it didn't go your way. Monday, I met with the lawyer. Washington is a no-fault state. No kids, no shared property. We rented. Separate bank accounts. Should be straightforward. Papers were filed that afternoon. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Fremont 2 weeks later. It was small and quiet and mine. I bought plants. They thrived. The next 6 weeks were a blur of people reaching out. Friends who'd noticed things I'd missed. Her coworker who confirmed nothing had happened between them, that he'd actually rejected her advances weeks ago. That explained the timing. 3 months after that Thursday evening, we stood in front of a judge. The divorce was finalized in less than 10 minutes. She tried to talk to me in the hallway. I was polite but firm. There was nothing left to discuss. That evening, friends took me to Hitchcock on Bainbridge Island. We took the ferry over, made it a celebration. Someone toasted to new beginnings. Another friend toasted to knowing your worth. Everyone noticed I seemed lighter, happier. 6 months later, I hosted a small dinner party at my apartment. 8 friends, including Allison, we were dating now, taking it slow. Whitney was there with her new boyfriend. No drama, no tension, just good people and easy laughter. Someone asked about my ex-wife. I heard she moved to Portland, I said. Fresh start. Do you ever regret it? I thought about it. No. Best thing she ever did for me was be honest about what she wanted. Allison brought up the concept of evolved adults. Everyone laughed. Turns out being evolved means knowing when to walk away, I said. A friend nodded. And knowing when to stop tolerating disrespect. 8 months after that Thursday evening, I was at Victrola Coffee reading when my ex-wife walked in. She didn't see me at first. She was with someone new, laughing. Then she spotted me. We looked at each other across the coffee shop. She walked over slowly. Hi, she said. Hi. You look good. Thanks. You too. We talked for a few minutes. She was working in Portland. New job, new relationship. Getting there. I wanted to say I'm sorry, she said, for how things went. I appreciate that. You seem happy. I am. You? Getting there. We parted ways politely. No drama. No big reconciliation scene. Just 2 people who used to know each other. I went back to my book. My phone buzzed. Allison, still good for dinner tonight? Absolutely. Your place or mine? Mine. I'm cooking. I smiled and finished my coffee. She'd wanted to prove we were evolved adults. Turned out she was right. We just had to evolve apart. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.